Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the Center for Jewish History's Family History Today series of genealogy-themed public programs. My name is Moria Amit, and I'm the center's senior genealogy librarian. The Center for Jewish History provides a collaborative home for 5 partner organizations that together form the largest archive on the modern Jewish experience outside of Israel. In addition, the center houses the Ackman and Ziff Family Genealogy Institute, which is where I am based. And we strive to connect researchers to the wealth of genealogy resources at the center and to make family history accessible to researchers of all ages, abilities, and levels of experience, whether Jewish or non-Jewish. While the center remains closed, our genealogy librarians are still working remotely and are eager to assist you with your research. You may continue to engage with us in the following ways. Watch our weekly genealogy coffee break webinars for a brief dive into a specific topic in genealogy every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the center's Facebook page. You can also email us at gi@cjh.org to ask for advice on your research questions or to arrange a free genealogy workshop for your synagogue, genealogical society, or other community group. And lastly, I hope you had the opportunity to see some of the announcements of our upcoming programs before we began speaking. To learn more about these or other future programs, please check our program calendar at programs.cjh.org. So a couple of quick technical notes before we get started. You may have noticed that your microphones have been muted and that the chat box has been disabled. So to send us your questions and your comments, you will be using the Q&A box, which you should find either on the bottom or the right side of your screen. Please note that our guest speaker will be answering your questions during the dedicated Q&A period at the end of the presentation. So, without further ado, thank you so much, Serafima, for joining us today. Serafima Velkovich has been working at Yad Vashem for 15 years. As researcher in the Reference and Information Department of the Yad Vashem Archives Division, Ms. Velkovich has been closely involved in the indexing and digitization of names material from Eastern Europe in Yad Vashem's databases. She also lectures on the use of Yad Vashem resources for genealogical and historical research to various groups and participates in international conferences and films on Holocaust themes. Ms. Velkovich is a PhD candidate at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and I'm very pleased to welcome Serafima from Israel, which is, I guess, you could say one of the silver linings of this era, that we get to hear from great speakers all over the world, including Ms. Velkovich. So welcome. Thank you.
So I just started to express my gratitude to Center for Jewish History and specifically to Maria Amit for organizing this meeting and for inviting me. And today I want to speak about genealogical sources at Yad Vashem online databases, and I'll be glad to answer questions in the end. I'll start from explanation, more general explanation about Yad Vashem databases, and after that I want to show how to search in Yad Vashem online databases. So Yad Vashem is Holocaust and Martyrs and Heroes Remembered Authority, and primary part of Yad Vashem mandate is to gather material regarding all those members of the Jewish people who were murdered and to perpetuate their names. Established as Remembrance Authority in 1953 by an act of the Israeli Parliament Knesset, Yad Vashem was entrusted with the task of commemorating, documenting, gathering, and researching the Shoah of the 6 million Jews murdered by the German Nazis and their collaborators, the destroyed Jewish communities, the heroic ghetto and resistant fighters, and the writers among the nations who risked their lives to save Jews. Yad Vashem was established in 1953, but already in 1946, the institution was opened for the first time, but its activity was postponed because of the War of Independence in Israel in 1948 and the death of the first director. So officially it was opened in 1953, as I told, and in 2004, the Holocaust Victims Database was uploaded online for the first time. What does it mean, Yad Vashem? The name comes from the Bible, Isaiah book, and I'm quoting, "And I shall give them in my house and within my walls a memorial and a name that shall not be cut off." who were the 6 million murdered in the Holocaust? The number doesn't convey who they were, where they lived, information about their family, what their dreams were, how they died, or whether and how they are actually related to us. David Berger, a 22 years old electrician from Vilna, who was shot to death by the Nazis in 1941, shortly after sending these words in one of his farewell postcards to his girlfriend Elsa, who immigrated to Palestine. I should like someone to remember that there once lived a person named David Berger. So one of the main tasks of Yad Vashem activity is to collect the names of Holocaust victims. And for me as a researcher, it's very important not only to collect the names, but also to collect kind of small pieces of puzzle from different resources to recover and to understand more who were these people, because only names it's not enough to learn about Holocaust victims. And I want to show you how we work and how it is important to try to collect as much as possible about Holocaust victims. I want to show you a map of pre-war Europe, and you can see here the numbers and the color. The dark is color, the less name we were able to discover. That means that way of Nazi action during the Holocaust was different in the Western Europe and in Eastern Europe. In the Western Europe, Jews were taken to the transportation and they were sent to the east, to the camps and ghettos. They were not killed at the place where they lived. And in this transportation, they were recorded. So we have almost all the names of the Jews who were Holocaust victims from such countries like Germany, France, Austria, and several else countries. But the east we are going, the less names we could discover. And it's also means for us the way of our work. So where we should search more and where we should work more. So please remember this map. I'll explain a little bit about our project, and it will be important to remember this map because it's connected to our work. Today, database currently contains over 7.5 million records relating to the over 4.8 million Jews murdered and also to hundreds of thousands of Jewish people persecuted in those final fate is still to be determined. That means that in some cases we have several records about the same individual. And it's also a database consists of about 40% of pages of testimony, which nowadays we have about 2.8 million items. And this collection nowadays is part of World Heritage of UNESCO. To the pages of testimony attached about 180,000 photos. And we are really happy that nowadays public send us more and more photos because it's very easy nowadays to communicate and to send digital files. About 60% of our indexed names arrive from archival material from Yad Vashem Archives, which are also collect materials from all over the Europe and different archives. And we have as original materials as copies from other archives. About a year ago, we uploaded a very important tool that was developed in our database. It's called clusters. And I want now to explain how it's important for us and how we can work with it. And you also can work with it and help us. In the past, when you search some name, family name and first name in the database, you receive different records, each record separately. So you can see that you can nowadays, you can choose what you want to see records, documents, or you want to see results by individuals and victims. So when you choose victims, you receive less record, but you see that in one record you have several together. So that's what we call cluster. It's kind of virtual folder where we put all the records about the same victims together. And it helps us to work on these records and to know more about the fate of the victim. And I want to show you how it works. So, for example, when you have several records about the same person and you enter one of the records, you see all other records together and you see content of these records, and you can work with that. In the past, when we only started this project, we did clusters manually, and we managed to put together only records which were exact. We knew for sure that are suited to the same person. Nowadays, we are doing it also manually and at the same time with special machine program, and we managed already to found about 330,000 clusters. This is an example about Cesare Luzzatto, who was a general in Italian army and who was Holocaust victim. You can see many different materials about this person, including photographs and pages of testimony and archival materials. And you can compare these records about the person and to learn about his fate. In some cases, we have materials, we have all kinds of lists where we don't know for sure what is the final fate of the victim. It can be a list of deportation, it can be a list of some inmates in the camp or in the ghetto, and we know that the fate of this person on a specific date. We don't know what's happened to this person in the end of the war. The cluster allows us to compare different records about this person and to actually to estimate what happened to the person, if he survived or he was killed. At the same time, as the Yad Vashem database is not genealogical database with family trees, it's a database of commemoration. So we don't have in many cases connection between brothers. Each record is separately about a specific victim. So via these clusters, we can look, for example, who filled out pages of testimony. In some cases, there are different relatives who filled out and they did not know that their relatives also filled it out. And we have many cases when people could locate their relative, they thought they were killed, for example, during the Holocaust, and we organized family reunion, and it's very, very touching event of all this. So our goal also to engage public to help us. So you can choose record that you think about the same person. You can press pluses on the right side, and you see that victim added to the list. And you can compare the records to decide if these records are about the same person. Sometimes we cannot do it automatically because, for example, only relatives can know that some person had some nickname at home, or some person had, for example, some Jewish name that are not appears in official materials. So sometimes only family members can be sure that these documents are about the same person. Because of that, it's so important for us to receive feedback and to communicate with the public. So you can send us cluster suggestions via online forum, and our staff members receive this suggestion and they check if exactly about the same person, if there are enough evidence that this is the same person. If yes, it's these records are put into the same virtual folder and upload as cluster already. Actually, all new uploadings are on Yad Vashem website each 3 months. And unfortunately, each change that you are sending online also once in 3 months, because new upload is not only in the names database, it's connected to all the databases together. So it's unfortunately we cannot do it more times. So now I want to show you how to use online database. Actually, really technical things, because we have now genealogy meeting. It is important for me to teach you how to use our databases. If you are going to Yad Vashem website to digital collections, you are entering Shoah names database, and you enter the central database of Shoah victims' names. So what we have nowadays online, there are records about people who we know for sure were murdered in the Holocaust. There are records, as I mentioned already, about individuals who were Holocaust victims, but we don't know their final fate from these documents. And also there are records about people who were part of the evacuation and of population by the Soviet authorities before the arrival of Nazi troops. There are about 900,000 indexed names from such list of evacuation. These lists were completed in the beginning of 1942. And actually, in general, we know that the majority of these people survived. But in the evacuation, they also were in difficult situations sometimes. And there were people who died there from all kinds of circumstances. And there were men who were drafted to the army and killed in military service. So not in each case we can know what happened to this person, unfortunately. So I want to mention that records about survivors are still not online, but we're planning to upload it. Sometimes it's rather difficult because of the privacy issue. We're working on it in the beginning of the next year, really close. We are starting to upload step-by-step records about survivors. As I mentioned, the privacy law is sometimes restricts the uploading, but we are trying to upload as much as possible. How to search in Yad Vashem database from the point of view names and geography. Yad Vashem Hall of Names developed a very unique database of synonyms. Usually in genealogy databases, it's searched by all kinds of tools like Soundex and so on. So we have a very specific system of synonyms. That means it doesn't matter how you spell the first name and the last name, what language do you write it? It can be either Latin alphabet or Cyrillic or Hebrew alphabet. All the variants of the same name is connected one to another. And when you search one variant, you're receiving all the variants that are connected to the same name. So speaking about family names and first names. The same synonyms data we have in a geographical location database. So you know that borders actually moved many times in Europe before and during the war. So we decided that our geography database is restated on the date of the beginning of World War II, September 1939. That means that such town like Lvov, which nowadays is Lviv in the Ukraine, in our database mentioned as a Polish town in Galicia. And it doesn't matter what language do you write the name of the town, like Lvov or Lviv or Lemberg, you'll receive all the variants together of the same town. And here you can see the example of Bratislava, which is the capital of Slovakia. It was named in German Pressburg, and in Hungarian it appears as Pozsony. So it doesn't matter in which language you are searching this name, you're receiving all the material that's connected to this place. And this is very important to mention for us, because when you're searching, I ask you please always choose synonyms. You have to choose their synonyms or exact spelling. Choose all the synonyms, and it's very helpful in your searching. So here, for example, I search one name, Epstein Agata, and I want to show how it's important to compare different records about the same person if you want to enrich the picture and reconstruct different details about the same Holocaust victim that we have. So I received three records. One of them is a list of murdered Jews from Austria. And we see that we have here the transport number and transport date. This person lived in Wien and was transported to Ghetto Lodge. And we know the exact address in Wien. From the other record from Lodge Ghetto, we can learn her address in the ghetto. And by using our database, we can compare who else were with her together at the same address, who were family members actually. At the same time, very important resource is page of testimony. because if we look at the submit information, we see here in this case that her son filled it out. That means he was a survivor, and we have his address. And if we want to apply him, we can find. Unfortunately, Yad Vashem very seldom can help to find and to trace submitters, but we advise people to apply to the International Red Cross. And in each country, they have their own branch, and they help to locate people nowadays. So if you research some small places, small towns, and you want to see all the victims that are recorded from the same place, you can work with a long list. And here, for example, I searched a place Olkush. This is a small town in Poland, and I want to show how to work with that. I advise not to work this way with the big cities because it's too complicated data. But here in the case that I received 13,000 results, it can be really possible. So you press the red button, refine your search, and here you can actually play and manage with your table that you received. You can choose all different family names or first name that you want to check. You can choose kind of material that you want to check. For example, only pages of testimony or only lists of murdered people. You can choose the final fate of the victim, if this person was killed in military service or this person was killed in the ghetto, for example. So it's very helpful to research big data. When you press the name, you're receiving the scan and the information inside. So when you press more details, you can see the index data. So pages of testimony, for example, are existing in 14 languages, and it's all of them translated into English and indexed. In many cases, I see online and all kinds of community people ask to translate pages of testimony. So really look in our database, it's translated already. And it's really helpful to understand what's written there, because sometimes it's very difficult to read handwriting. So, well, if you see some mistakes or some, you want to send us some correction, you can press the button correction and editions. I only need to mention that we don't change historical document. That means if you see, for example, date of birth in the page of testimony that from your point of view is not right, we cannot correct it, because this is information that's submitting you, and this is for us historical information. So if you want to correct it and to change it, we are asking to fill out the new page of testimony, and we'll put it together to a new cluster when we receive from you the new information. We also ask to send us some kind of evidences if you have some birth certificates or marriage certificates or anything about this person that can be evident about this victim. So if you want to see all the pages of testimony filled out by the same submitter, you need to click on its submitter's name, and you received all the names submitted by the same person. Only be careful, please, because if the name of the submitter is common spread, you'll receive all the pages connected to the same name, and that doesn't mean that this is the same person. You need to be careful with the geographical location to be sure that it's spoken about the same submitter. Now, if you are going to advanced search, you can search by the submitter of the pages of testimony, or sometimes submitters of records from the memorial books. In many cases, I met people who told me that their parents filled out pages of testimony, but nowadays they don't know what were the names of the victims. So we can search by the submitter name and receive all the materials related to the same family. Now, Hall of Names is part of Yad Vashem Archives. And Yad Vashem Archives is really a rich resource for for Holocaust research, and nowadays it consists of 217 million pages of documentation, 133,000 testimonies of Holocaust survivors from different databases. We have Yad Vashem testimonies. We have also testimony from some other resources. For example, Spielberg Foundation testimony from USC Shoah Foundation. We have 510,000 photographs in the photo archives, and as I mentioned already, 4.8 million names of Holocaust victims which are recorded in Hall of Names. I want to show you how to work with online archival database. So one of the goals of Yad Vashem is to make available all the materials that we have, but not always it's possible, unfortunately. I'll explain why. So we actually scanned about 85% of our original material that we have. We also have many materials that are digital copies from different archives in Europe. Sometimes, according to agreement with the other archives, we cannot upload scans. We only can upload metadata. That means that you sometimes can see digital explanation about the document, but you cannot see the scan. You need to apply us, and we'll send if we have it, or if we can write to send. If we can't send it, we can just forward your request to explain you where to apply to original archives to receive the copy. So if you're going to digital collection and to documents archives, you can search online. I advise you to go to advanced search and to be really creative because you need to search by the keywords, and then depends on your needs what you want to search. And here, for example, I wanted to show you how to search, for example, letters from Warsaw. So I choose letters in the title, and I'm choosing Warsaw in the places. As I told, it can be written in different languages. Here I typed it in English. It also can be typed in Polish, but please make sure the geography you don't type in Hebrew letters. It doesn't work. Geography can be only in Cyrillic and Latin languages, because it's very difficult to understand sometimes in Hebrew what is written, because some small, for example, Polish towns, very difficult to read. For technical reasons, if you want to put in search of title 2 keywords, you need to write letters and this and is for technical technical tool to search 2 keywords together. So I'm searching here letters from Warsaw. I found 21 letters which existing online. As I mentioned, inside database you have much more materials, but unfortunately nowadays it's not available. You're welcome to apply us if you don't find anything online. So if you enter specific item, you consider an explanation about this item, letters requesting assistance sent to Relikov by Poles in Warsaw, for example, and you can see also the scan here. This is a letter written in Polish in Warsaw in 1942, and we unfortunately don't translate original materials. You have a short resume about the item made in our catalogization department, but the whole document is not translated. You need to work with the original languages. So photo archives consist nowadays of 3 parts. There are photographs from the photo archives itself. You can search here also photograph attached to the pages of testimony in the Hall of Names, and also photographs which I attached to the materials in the department writers among the nations. So in whole, you have here about 400,000 photographs online, and also the searching is with the word "and" in the middle, and you can search by the name, by the geographical place, by some keyword that of the phenomenon that you want to check. Here, for example, I choose to search children and DP, displaced persons. There is a huge collection of DP camps, and specifically about children made in Deportation camps after the war. And you can see very touching, beautiful photos of children. Now I want to show you two very important projects. One of Yad Vashem departments is International Holocaust Research Institution. They have many interesting projects of research, and one of the projects is Deportation Database. So if you remember the map in the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned that there are two different ways of acting in Western Europe and in Eastern Europe. So in Western Europe, when Jews were taken to the transports, they were recorded. So in this deportation project, my colleagues are researching these transports and uploading the information online. I'll show you how to work with this database. You can search here by the place, geographical place, for example, that you know that somebody was sent to ghetto lodge from Western Europe. And you can use also this line of the dates to choose specific date of transportation. So just for example, I search here lodge and I choose one transport. So inside you have an explanation of this transport. You have parts of Holocaust survivors' testimonies who were in this transport. You have a transport route, interactive map, and many additional details like agencies of deportation, statistics, resources, biography, references to archival materials. It's really a very rich academic research project, and it's very useful not only for researchers, also for family members when you want to know what's happened to a specific person, because sometimes the transportation is the last known event of Holocaust. Another very important project, so you are going via research, you are going to project, and you are entering the project of International Institute for Holocaust Research. And what I want to show you, one more very important project, which are dealing with the territory of former Soviet Union, where I told you that there are no records. So Nazis took Jews in the places where they lived. They took them to some kind of forest or some places next to this town, and they killed Jews, and they did not record any names. So sometimes in small places, when all the Jews were killed, there was no anybody to record their names and to tell their story. Because of that, this project called Untold Stories, and we are speaking about killing sites. So how this project is built? We are speaking about the project which is continue doing their work, and that means that not all the towns you can find here, but they add all the time additional information, and you can in the future try to search once more. We are speaking here about some towns in Belarus, Ukraine, Lithuania, Russia, and there are some parts of in Belarus, for example, that before the war were part of Poland. So I just advise to check if town exists here or not to be sure. So I'm choosing by the community or by the country and place. And here, for example, I choose the town called Babruisk in Belarus. So what information we have here? There are three parts of this project. First of all, they describe the life of the community before the war and what happened to the community interwar period before between two World War wars, and what happened to Jews in general during World War II. So after that, they researched murder sites. So they took different resources, written testimony of Holocaust survivors, German reports, and also very important source is CGK, Soviet reports. It's called Soviet Extraordinary Commission. It was established in 1943 And members of the commission entered just after the Red Army to liberated places, and they recorded the damage of the Soviet territory. They recorded lists of murdered people and also damage that happened in this place. So you can see here, for example, one of the reports of Einsatzgruppe B from December 1941 that shows the way that Nazi acted. I'm quoting. Therefore, by carrying out a special action, a total 5,281 Jews of both sexes were shot. The town of Bobruisk and its nearby area is now free of Jews. So these were German reports. And to know names of Holocaust victims, we really work hard. And one of the main sources, as I told, Soviet Extraordinary Commission, but there are different archival lists and pages of testimony where we're trying to find more names from these territories. The third part of this project is commemoration. So after the war, when Holocaust survivors came back to these places, they wanted to commemorate Holocaust victims, and just after the war in the end of 40s, they managed to establish a monument where it was written that this monument is for Jews who were killed, and sometimes it was written in Yiddish there, but really rather fast, Soviet authorities restricted this because they realized that all the monuments are about Jews, and they wanted this more general. So in each place on the monument, it was written that is for Soviet citizens who were killed by German fascists. And only after destroying of Soviet Union in the beginning of 90s, Jewish communities were able to build new monuments. And nowadays in many, many places, you can find monuments even with the names of victims and with the commemoration of Jews. One more very important database in Yad Vashem website is Writers Among the Nation. We are speaking about gentle people who, risking their life, help Jews to survive. Nowadays, there are about 27,000 Writers Among the Nations existing from all kinds of countries in Europe. The majority of them, the biggest number of writers are in Poland, about 6,000. And you can search in this database or by the name of survivor or by the name of rescuer. At the same time, if you want to learn the stories of surviving in specific town, you can choose it by town. For example, here I search by Šiauliai. This is town in Lithuania. And you can see that there are 126 results, not only from Šiauliai, but also from some small towns surrounding it. When you enter a specific name of rescuer, you can see the story of survival. You see the story, you see the personal details of the rescuer, and you also can see when the recognition was and where this person was commemorated. If you visited Yad Vashem campus, you saw many trees with the names of Writers Among the Nation, but fortunately there are more names than we have places for trees. And last year it was built Garden of the Writers, and name of the Writers Among the Nation we are putting to the wall of honor inside Yad Vashem campus, of course. So if you find the file that you're interesting for you, you can apply to Yad Vashem Archives. You can see here file number, the last line in this document, and with this number you can apply us, and we'll send you the whole folder with the documents. If you want to learn about some specific phenomenon, topics, or places connected to the Holocaust, you can enter Video Testimony Resource Center. You can choose here by topics or by places. There are not whole testimony, there are only small parts several minutes describing a specific place, for example. If you want to learn about it, you can enter and to listen here. At the same time, you can enter digital collections and to see survivors' testimonies. And I need to mention that actually all the testimonies are not online, and we really wish to upload it, but it's rather a hard task. It's technically hard, but it's also, there are some restrictions. First of all, not all the survivors allowed to upload their testimonies. So sometimes there are privacy issues, sometimes there are different agreements, as I told already, with different archives. So what we are doing now, there are about 200 testimonies which we uploaded already online. It's searchable. These are rather fresh testimonies taken last years, and survivors gave us a permission to upload it online. It's very helpful for research because you have here to search by specific terminology, keyword also. And when you search by some, for example, write ghetto, you're receiving all the testimonies where this word appears and specific minute where it appears. You don't need to search. You can enter exactly to the minute where this word appears. At the same time, we have a company that helps us to work these testimonies, and this kind of translation tool, similar to Google Translation. It's not perfect translation, I have to mention, but majority of these testimonies are in Hebrew, and if you want to listen it and to understand at least the context and general information, I think it's that kind of Google Translation is enough for that. And it's really helpful. We also have YouTube channel where you can listen to the lectures and also part of the testimonies and many additional information which are really useful. I want to tell you what, more also about one very important project that we have. It's called Gathering the Fragments. So this is Yad Vashem project that we started about 9 years ago, and we decided that we need to help people in surviving the Holocaust-related materials, because we discovered that in private homes in Israel specifically, there are a lot of documents and artifacts of Holocaust victims and survivors which need to be conservated, restored, and we applied to a private person with a request to donate us. So during these 9 years, we received about 300,000 items from 13,000 submitters. People arrived to Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem staff members also arrived to private homes, to some community centers, and we received these items. There are photographs, letters, art materials, and also footages, anything that connected to Holocaust. But what is very important for us, not only to collect these materials, and also to collect the story. Because if we just receive some photographs, it's important to put it to our database because it's connected to the Holocaust. But just the photos doesn't say anything. We need to know the story. So we ask the submitter to tell us the story that's connected to this item and how this person related to this item and who are the Holocaust survivors that's related to this item. And it's very, very important because as you remember in the beginning, I started from that I need to, as a researcher, I need to collect small pieces of puzzle to know the story of Holocaust victims. This is one of the ways to collect it, to ask family members to tell. And not always it's easy to tell such story, but in many cases we are receiving a really interesting story connected to some items. You can read some stories in our website. And as example, I can give an example that there were many Zionist young people in 30s who emigrated to former Palestine, Israel, future Israel, from Poland, for example, and they were in touch with their family members. So nowadays, the family keeps letters receiving from Europe, and sometimes, in many cases, these are last letters sent by Holocaust victims. And only by using these letters, we can really reconstruct what was the family, how they lived, and how they connected to the people who are living nowadays. It's very important for us. So sometimes people, for people, really difficult to donate original material because they want to keep it next to their heart, and they donate us scan, some digital copy. And actually, how we work with materials, we it goes through catalogization process. If the statement of the material is bad, it arrives to our laboratory for conservation. After the digitization, and we upload it online. It's also, we make it available for researchers or family members to see it online on our website. And this is really important for us. So also, I need to mention database of Arson Archives. So Arson Archives is a very, very big archives in Germany, in Bad Arson, which former name is International Tracing Service. This is separate archives. It's not Yad Vashem, but Yad Vashem is the official copy holder of their materials. They have separate website, but their names database was developed with the help of Yad Vashem tools. So it's common project of Yad Vashem and Arson Archives, and their database is nowadays online really growth and searchable by names also. They have many, many Holocaust related materials to Jews, but in general, this is a tracing service, and they have many materials about non-Jewish victims of Nazi persecutions. If you have any questions or requests, you are really welcome to apply to our reference and information service. And you see here the email where you can apply. You also can apply via internet form on our website. And we are trying to help everybody. We are answering all inquiries. Sometimes it takes about a month because we are really busy, especially nowadays that we are dealing only with the online inquiries when our reading room is closed. But we are trying to help to everybody, and you're welcome to apply us.
Thank you so much for that very thorough overview. I hope people got a lot out of it. I know I did. But people have also been I know people have been very engaged because questions have been pouring in throughout your talk. So
Okay.
I'm happy to try to select sort of the most relevant questions amongst those. I'm going to start with a positive one. Okay. Related to the Shoah names database. How can people share success stories when they've reconnected with relatives, long lost relatives through your resources?
Yeah. If you found your relatives, we are really happy to listen to such stories because it's very touching always, and it also shows us that our work comes to people. It's not only database with the names, it's also a very interactive database. So you can apply us and send a story, and we can forward it to other departments to work with that.
Thank you. An interesting question. Are there databases that Yad Vashem has that can only be used on site at Yad Vashem, not from someone's home computer?
Yeah. I just mentioned that inside database is much larger. What we have in our offices and in the reading room, unfortunately nowadays it's not available. So if you don't find anything online, please apply us. We'll search, and if we find, we'll send you, because unfortunately nowadays it's impossible to arrive.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, all repositories are dealing with this right now.
Yeah, maybe I need to mention also that these days we are doing also Zoom meetings with our clients. So if you need some consultation, you can write to us your request, and we'll just make an appointment to meet in Zoom and to help you to search.
Okay, so there were a number of questions about pages of testimony. First of all, how can someone submit a page of testimony? Can you clarify that?
On the website, yeah, on the website you can download the page of testimony. You actually can fill out electronic page of testimony, but we don't really like it. We like when you download it and to sign with your handwriting, because for us it's important, historical document, to see handwriting of maybe it's a little bit old school, old style, but to see handwriting of relatives that are connected to this person, and to see original sign, not electronic sign. So if you have an opportunity to download, to fill it out, and to send us by post, it would be better for us. But anyway, electronic version also exists. And pages of testimony can be downloaded in 14 languages.
And they can send a photo as well with the testimony, right?
Of course, it's very important. I think also, anyway, visual image is very important to understanding who person is.
Okay.
And if you have already records online, as I mentioned, you can send suggestion or edition. You just can send scanned records via this form. But if it's difficult, you can send by email scanned photo, and to mention to which document it should be attached.
Okay, so this is how you can add photos to testimony pages that are already in your database. Yes.
Yeah, or by email. You can send by email, but I think is the way to attach it to online document. Mm-hmm. And our staff members, it's not automatically. Our staff members work on it, and after that, the people who applied receiving confirmation that it was attached, and in sometimes it will be uploaded online.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, an interesting question about survivor. So you talked about how is there going to be a separate survivor database, or is survivor information going to be uploaded to the Shoah names database?
We don't have separate database.
Okay.
It's the same database. It's just there are a lot of information about survivors inside in our database not on the website, but we have also intranet that is available. It's in the reading room. Mm-hmm. And it will be the same database in the Shoah names database. Because also survivors are also victims of the Holocaust. They survived, but they also were victims.
And so my other question for you is, where is that survivor information coming from? What are some of the sources?
Oh, there are a lot of sources.
Okay.
First of all, we have different lists, archival lists of survivors made just after the war, from end of the 40s, for example, where survivors survived Poland back, for example. Mm-hmm. We have also, as we have pages of testimony about Holocaust killed victims, we have it's called survivor questionnaire. It's kind of form which people can fill out about survivor.
And people can still submit.
People can send us. It also can be downloaded online, and people can send us.
Okay.
Survivor is a person who were in Europe during World War II, and who survived, who were in life in the end of 45.
And
that means if somebody immigrated in 30s. Somebody immigrated in 30s before World War II, he is not survivor in our meaning.
Does he have to? Does that person have to have been in Europe till the end of the war, or what if they left sometime in the middle of the war?
It's very standard. Sometimes, that people left in the middle of the war. But what I mean, if somebody left Europe before World War II started, he is not survivor in our meaning.
Okay.
But if somebody, for example, Kindertransport, they're survivors.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they left in the end of 30s, right? 38, 39. So it depends. But I mean, if person went through the war in war, was in life in the end of 45, he's survivor. If
Okay.
person died, for example, from the all kind of illness in the sum of 45, he is a victim for us, not survivor. I mean, we consider this person that he died because of the Holocaust.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Continuing on the theme of survivors, do you have, can you speak about Yad Vashem's DP camps records?
Oh, yeah. This is my lovely topic. Yeah. Yeah. First of all, Yad Vashem has its own original collections about DP camps. For example, Bergen-Belsen camp in British Zone, there is a huge collection. There is also a very big collection of DP materials in Arson Database, which we are using very actively. And there we have DP cards of Holocaust survivors. It depends very much where a person was, in which DP camp. For example, if somebody was in Italy, more materials existing in JDC archives, not in Yad Vashem archives. But if they were in Germany, in British Zone, there are a lot of materials in our database. So it depends from the camp to camp. You need to search by the name, not by the collections.
Okay.
And of course, as I mentioned, there are a lot of very touching, beautiful photos of small babies and people who survived. In many cases, these photos are not with names because they were made by all kind of officials for purposes of reports what happened there. But you can search by the name of the camp to see which photographs connected to the same DP camp.
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's see. A couple of questions about sort of mechanics of searching. Is there a way for people to access Yad Vashem's synonym lists? Like the synonyms for names? No? Okay.
No, this is inside. This is actually a database that we invented and we're using it. But it doesn't need, if you search something, as I mentioned, if you search for example, in German language, some family name, you're receiving all the spellings of this family name that's existing in our database. And the same as connected to the first names. As an example, I can say, for example, name Abraham, existing in almost more than 900 variants, because in the different languages, different nicknames, and different all kinds of spellings. It's really, really very spread.
So you would get a sense of the synonyms by going through the results. No.
It's just a tool. It's not a database for public. It's a tool for searching.
Okay. Let's see. So some of the documents that you use as sources in your database contain people's addresses, yes?
Right. And for example, pages of testimony.
Yeah. Is there any way to search the database by address, or is there a plan to do that?
No, you can search by the name of the submitter and to see where people live. Unfortunately, we don't have many cases. People ask us if there are more information about submitter. So the only information that we have is what is recorded down on the bottom of page of testimony, for example, if we're speaking about pages of testimony. And we don't have opportunities to search for these people. Very seldom that we can find. As I mentioned, we advise to apply to International Red Cross.
Right. Okay.
But the rule of International Red Cross that we need to apply in the country where we live. Even if you see the person from Israel who submitted page of testimony and you yourself live in other country, you need to apply it to in your country, not in Israel.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see. All right, I will go with another question. Oh, this is a good question about pages of testimony. Again,
Okay.
What if somebody has very few details about the individual that they want to submit a page of testimony for? Like maybe they don't have their full name or their parents' names.
So we ask at least several details: last name, first name, place of residence, and age, at least.
Okay, that's
5
the minimum.
details.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes submitters doesn't know names of small babies and they know names of the parents. It also can be submitted because in many cases it's very difficult to find out anything about babies.
Okay. Oh, there were a couple questions about the murder sites website. Does it include a map of all of the former USSR murder sites?
No.
No? Okay.
Because it's not, it's research about specific places. Okay. And they continue working, but I'm not sure they will be able to arrive to all the murder places because in some places there are no information.
Right. But the locations that have been added so far, is there a map of those?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no whole map of these places. In each place, when you enter the research about the specific place, there is a map there.
Oh, but there's no map that shows all of the locations together? No?
Yeah.
Oh. Do you know if there's a plan?
I'm not sure that, yeah, it seems to me not, but
okay.
I'm not sure. To tell the truth, I think no.
Okay. Interesting question. So Yad Vashem has published a lot of very important books on the subject of the Holocaust. Do you, if someone is looking for a particular book that is out of print now, how would you suggest that they go about finding it?
To arrive to our library. Okay, it depends what is the book. If we are speaking, for example, about memorial books, that you probably know what is that community members published a book about the community with a list of murdered people, with the explanation of history of Jews from these communities. And majority of these books were published in 50s and 60s, and it's difficult to buy it nowadays. But majority of these books was scanned and it appears in a New York Public Library online. It's very easy to find it. And that's nowadays we are searching online resources to use because libraries are closed. Right. So it's very source to use. Yeah. Actually, you can see library catalog online on Yad Vashem website, but there are no scans because of the copyright issue.
Right. Okay. People had questions about other archives that have Holocaust records. Is there any cross-referencing or linking between the Yad Vashem's database and other Holocaust databases?
No, there are no cross references, but first of all, when you find some materials, they're always written from where the original material comes. And also, I would recommend to use ERI database, European Holocaust Research Infrastructure. This is very big portal, which are related to Holocaust materials. There are no scanned documents there. There are no names database there, but they have database of kind of collections in different archives that are connected to the Holocaust all over the Europe, and it's very helpful for research.
And that website is, can you spell that again, please?
It's called ERI, European Holocaust Research Infrastructure.
So I would say EHRI.
Right, but they have portal. They have it's very easy to find by Google search.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, there are a number of questions about donating artifacts or, you know, an entire photo album.
Yeah.
How would people go about doing that?
Yeah. Actually, what I talked about together on the Fragment, this very big project is in Israel, but we several times went abroad, tried there. It's rather difficult to send staff members and so on. So this department has some specific channels with delivery companies. If somebody wants to donate, you need to apply to this department, get the Fragments. Their email is collect@yadvashem.org. And if you want to donate, you need to apply and to say that you want to donate. They'll explain you how to do it, actually, to be sure that materials arrive, not just by post. It's not a good idea. If you want to donate digital scans, the same way to apply to this department, they'll explain what to do.
Okay. That's probably the best way in general. Like, if you have questions about donations, just email the department first and they'll help you out.
Right.
Let's see. Have non-Jewish people donated artifacts? For example, if items were left in the with individuals, you know, neighbors, let's say, and then those items were never recovered. Do you ever receive those kinds of donations?
I don't know exact examples now, but I'm sure that we have such donations. I only need to mention that Yad Vashem doesn't buy Holocaust-related materials. We only receive donations. So this is important, I think, to mention.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not familiar with this, but somebody raised the question of Shoah Connect that used to connect people with the submitter's email. Does that still exist?
To tell the truth, I don't know what is it.
Okay.
If somebody wants to provide his email address or telephone number in submit information, they write, but it's not necessary. If somebody doesn't want to give his personal information, it's also, we cannot engage people to do it because we say that these materials are uploaded online. Maybe somebody doesn't want their email online, I don't know.
Right.
But I don't know such database.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one either, so I can't speak to that. Let's see. Okay, so there seems to be a number of questions about searching the database by place rather than by name.
Mm-hmm.
I know you talked about that during your presentation, but can you just review quickly how somebody would do that?
Yeah, just to type a geographical location in this place and to search, but I would say it's too complicated search. If you are searching specific people, it's better to search with the personal details.
Mm-hmm.
And to be sure that you arrive to the right results. But sometimes people just want to learn about specific victims from specific place, so they can search by the geographical location.
Okay.
But I really advise to do it with the small places, not with the big cities.
Your photo database, is that searchable by name as well?
Yes, but as I told, if these are photos from photo archives, it's in many cases there are no names there.
Mm-hmm.
If these photos which attach to the pages of testimony, it's of course with a name. So it depends what are the photos. Sometimes if you're searching by name, you can receive, for example, all the collections submitted by the same person who donated it, and you will receive all the photos from the same submitter.
Somebody found the European Holocaust Research Infrastructure website, so
Great.
I will let's see.
Forward to everybody.
Let me see how I can photo.
I only need to mention this is very helpful material source, but more for research, not for genealogy usage.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, if somebody wants to know to which archives to apply, it can be helpful.
Okay, I will type it in the chat box momentarily. Okay, you should all see it in your chat box now. Thank you.
You found because I can send.
Yes, one of our viewers found it. Thank you, Ellen Pemrick.
Okay. Great.
A question about the Zoom research support that you mentioned. Should a person should just email you first, and then you will set that
email.
up?
So we suggest to talk about half an hour for free, and but it's better to send us firstly personal details, because for me as a researcher and consultant, it's easier to know what I need to explain beforehand.
Absolutely, it's better to have some advanced knowledge before going into a consultation. Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course to take into account that our time differences.
Oh yes, definitely. Okay. There are so many questions, but I don't.
Welcome.
Okay. Does Yad Vashem have records of Jews who served time in Russian jails? I'm assuming this is maybe the evacuee story that you.
No, this is not evacuee story.
Okay.
No, this is story of Gulag. If you know what that's special settlements. Yes. For example, Polish Jews who fled East and who were deported to these camps. It's not the story that actually Yad Vashem recorded, but majority of these people, for example, Polish Jews who survived in the territory of Soviet Union, were it was an they received amnesty in 1941, and they spent wartime in the territory of Soviet Union. And in 1946, they came back to Poland by repatriation agreement with the Soviet Union. So we can find information about them in the database of International Tracing Service, Arson Archives. And we also have some materials in different archives, for example, in Jewish Historical Institute in Warsaw. In Yad Vashem, we have less materials, but if these people after that immigrated to Israel and gave testimony and submitted pages of testimony, so anyway, we need to search. It depends all the time from the name to name. We need to search by specific case.
Oh, this is interesting. From a coordinator of one of the Jewish Gen district research groups. Can Yad Vashem provide extractions of records from Jews from a particular town or set of towns to one of these volunteer project coordinators?
Actually, this is the question about specific town to the director of Hall of Names. But in general, what I can say about it, that our database is free. You don't need to register it, and it's all the time. It's not stable. All the time we put something else.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to receive the table with the names, in several months it can be changed.
Oh yeah, that's true. You make updates all the time, right?
Yeah. So it's better to work online with the like I showed it with the name of the town and to see which records we have today. and to check in the future. I think it's a better way.
Do you have a sense of like the rate at which new records are being added to the database? Like how often records are, or how many records per year, let's say, are added to the no?
To tell the truth, I don't know exact statistic per year.
Okay.
But really, I see that our database is all the time is enlarged because of our cooperation with different archives, and also because of this material that we are receiving from the gathering the fragments. It's all the time really, really dynamic.
Okay. That's important for people to know. So, let's say you you searched for your family, 4 years ago in the database, and you didn't find many results. Try again. There might be some new there might be some new information out there.
For sure, yeah. And we really work very closely with different archives. I can give an example of Latvian archives. They have very well recorded materials. So starting from 90s with this cooperation, they have so many materials about Latvian Jews, including, for example, passports of Jews from Riga, from capital of Latvia, from the period before the war. In this passport, sometimes I met many people who, for the first time, find out photos of their killed relatives in these passports.
Oh, I apologize for the typo in the website. It should say, for those of you who are reading it, portal.ehri-project.
Project. Yeah. Just a second. I can send a link to everybody.
Thank you. There you go. Oh, so you talked about the Arson Archives. And I mean, I think I can answer this question, but someone asked if you need to separately search the Arson Archives, and the answer is yes.
Yes. Just a second, I'll send a link to search.
Are there any other Holocaust-related websites that you highly recommend?
Oh, it depends on the country. It depends on your searching. For example, if we're speaking about France, I really recommend Memorial de la Shoah. If we're speaking about Belgium, I recommend Memorial du with very big database. It really depends. If you're searching in Poland, apply to Jewish Historical Institute in Warsaw.
Okay.
So a lot of databases are existing now.
Yeah.
But we need to remember that there are many cases that it's impossible to find anything about Holocaust victims. And for example, in Warsaw, which was destroyed totally, it's very seldom that we can find some materials about specific victims of Warsaw Ghetto. So anyway, we are trying all the time.
Yeah. And can you explain your relationship with the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum and how that works? We
are partners.
Yeah.
Really, we are working together on many topics. As an archival representative, I can say that we are working together with European archives to receiving copies from their materials. And it's a common project, and there are many research projects together, so partners.
And people can, well, once institutions reopen, people can go to the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, and they can search. They have access to a larger database there than they would from home, right?
In USHMM?
Yeah. I think they're talking. Yeah.
No, I'm talking. No, didn't understand me maybe.
Okay.
I talked about the archival exposition, when we arrive to European archives to make copies of their Jewish-related materials. In some countries, this is common project with USHMM. That's what I mean. But our databases are separate.
I think I'm getting confused. I think the person who asked that question, I think that they're actually asking about the International Tracing Service database.
Okay.
And that is
International Tracing Service database. Many documents are online, but not everything. And if you want to apply to search there, you can apply or to Arson itself, or to us, or to USHMM. They also have a copy holder.
Right. Okay. All right. I think we should wrap it up there. You answered the vast number of questions that were asked, and you went above and beyond. So thank you so much. And
you're very welcome.
Just to wrap up, can you repeat your email address for everyone?
Let's type it to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see it, right?
So yes, it's ref@yadvashem.org.il.
Yeah, ref like reference.
Yes.
But it's also possible to enter to our website and to fill out online form to apply.
Okay. All right. Well, we really appreciate your time and your expertise.
You're very welcome.
And
we'll be in touch.
Yes, we will definitely be in touch. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for your patience, and thank you for Maria for organizing it.